The day you feel like you're irreplaceable, or the day you feel like I'm on top of this mountain, I got this, like I'm good, doesn't matter what happens from here, that's the day you're gonna be replaced. That's the day where it's gonna go the other way. And that's the day where, to me, I'm done.
Hey, Shams, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you so much.
And I got to tell you, I've been following the NBA much more lately since SoFi became the official bank of the NBA.
That was massive news for SoFi and obviously the NBA. So I'm sure it was a big moment.
But before we get into it, I have to tell everyone that myself and Shams are non-client promoters of SoFi Wealth LLC, and we have both been compensated for our time.
And I need to tell you that I'm a registered representative with SoFi Securities LLC and an investment advisor representative with SoFi Wealth LLC. While we talk in the Shams today, I need to make sure that nothing said misrepresents the truth around investing or personal finance. Shams, we're excited to get into it because, I mean, you've accomplished a lot, especially for being, the age you are. Being, an analyst and a writer with The Athletic, being a co-host on a TV show, breaking stories left and right on NBA trades and everything. And also a term that I learned for the first time yesterday, apparently the Rizz God, according to the internet. And yes, I had to ask what that was. So congrats.
So did I. I mean, I did too.
So it's about you, and you had to be like, what's a Rizz God?
I mean, I guess it's, I feel, I'm 29, but sometimes I feel, I feel like I'm like 45 at different points.
Way too young to be feeling this old.
Just because I started out so early, and I feel like you need a level of maturity. Like, when I started reaching out to people initially, cold calling, cold texting, like you don't have to say how old you are. Like you just have to present yourself as being professional, credible, trustworthy. So I feel like I've been faking my age or trying to be older or act older really my whole life, ever since, in high school I decided to go on this path. But yeah, I didn't know what that term meant, but obviously I'm, I guess, flattered.
No one's ever said that about Dr. Money, but it's okay. I'll roll with it.
I'll take it. What do you? I'll let Vivian decide by the end of this if I'm worthy of that name.
The Rizz God. All right.
We'll make that happen.
Well, before we jump into things, we like to start every single episode off with an icebreaker. Okay. And so you are very much known for coming out with late breaking news, and you are always on your phone. So we got to know, how much money would it take for you to put that thing down for a whole month, and not look at it?
One whole month.
1 whole month, no phone.
1 whole month, no phone. I don't think there's a price on it. I feel like time is...
Shams, really?
There's no price on time. Like 1 month without my phone.
Yeah.
I
there isn't a number.
I think I would lose my mind. Listen, if I had to put, like, if you...
Even if like $1 billion?
That's what I was gonna say. If you had to make me pick a number, I would say $1 billion. But again, like, billion is a lot. Like, if someone offered me 500 million to take a month, but to me, like, I got into this for beyond reasons of money. Like, obviously that's something that, you think about now, you put people in position now to handle things like that. But I got into this for the work, for the passion, for the grind. I still feel like every day is I'm starting at the bottom and I'm trying to keep scratching and clawing. And I feel like that mentality, like, once that leaves you, I feel like that's when I'm done. Like, that's when I'll take you up.
Yeah.
On that deal. That's when I'm gonna accept whatever term you do. But right now, I don't think there's a price on it, because for me, time is so valuable. Like, every single day, that's why any day that you take off, with what I do, any day you take off, you're gonna fall behind. And that's why family trips, dates, social things, parties, because you're sacrificing that amount of time versus going out and doing what you want to be doing during that time period, which is being on my phone, talking to my contacts, going to a game, going to an event. Like, those are things that really get my blood going. So
you're really here for the love of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
I just know for a fact, though, you are the person who puts your phone face up on the table at a dinner date, and you're like...
Yeah. For sure. I mean, the phone's definitely out. The phone's definitely being attended to. See, the good thing is my family is 100% on board with it now.
They're cool with it.
They never were not cool, but like initially early on, I think they were just always like kind of like, what are you doing? But at this point now, it's like they would feel weird if I didn't leave a dinner or a lunch or a gathering that we're at, and I'm not leaving for a call, or I'm not like bugged out for 5 minutes because I'm totally locked in on my phone. So that's, but you know, you have to really love it. Like probably like what you guys do, what anyone does, you want to be able to love what you do and really hold it as a passion.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because the first part we want to talk about is, you know, a lot of times you think about professional athletes and, you know, their hustle. But, I mean, your hustle, your grind is something you're known for, also your relationships. So, like, which one do you think has been more impactful and more helpful along your journey?
I think the hustle came first, and that led to the relationships. Because when I was first starting out, sophomore year of high school, that's when I realized like I wasn't gonna play basketball anymore for my high school team. I got cut. I'm like, I have to decide what I want to do because I want to stay around the NBA. So once I got cut, I decided. My English teacher sophomore year was like, you need to turn this into a passion, and you need to tap into your writing, tap into your love for the game of basketball, and try to write about sports. And that's when I started doing that. And once that happened, it just clicked. And I just initially started off as game analysis. I was writing 3,000, 5,000 words a day. And I wrote more back then than I do now because then I was finding my voice. I was trying to find who I am as a person, you know, as a writer and as a professional. And that's why, to me, the hustle came first. Relationships definitely very, very important now. I feel like that's something I lean on now. But for any young person, anyone coming up now, to me, the hustle and the work ethic, being present, like whatever that phrase is, being present is 99% of the battle, 95% of the battle.
Showing
up.
The
rest, showing up is 90% of the battle. Like the rest is hard work and luck. And I definitely would adhere to that as well, because to me, being present was very important. But you know, the hustle was definitely a major, major part of my start.
And that's why I think it's cool that that's kind of out there and that's known, because so often people see, like, it's like the iceberg type concept where people see the results, like the tweets, the breaking news, all that stuff. They don't see all the stuff that goes underneath it, you know?
Everyone only sees the results now, right? Like people look at, I guess, me now and you don't see the, you know, the sophomore year me, you know, and driving back and forth from, because initially I wasn't credentialed with the Bulls. I'm from Chicago, but I wasn't credentialed with the Bulls. So I had to find ways to get to NBA games in Milwaukee and Indiana, Indianapolis with the Pacers and the Bucks. Those were my two teams that I went out and I made the hour-and-a-half drive to Milwaukee. I made the 3.5-hour drive to Indiana, and I would be going, you know, the night before final exams. I'd be going the night before, you know, a weekend. Like, sacrificing school at different points, and I'm not suggesting anyone should sacrifice school, but I definitely, you know, I picked experience and work over, you know, I did get my education, you know, I did graduate from college, but for me, I knew sophomore year of high school what I wanted to do, and the experience and going through it, that was the biggest lesson for me in life. And I would definitely tell any young person now, like, school is very important, but to me, once you're putting yourself out there and you're putting yourself on the line and making yourself uncomfortable, like that will shape you as a person. That will shape, I think, your confidence level in the industry. Will help you find your voice. But those times when I was like driving 3.5 hours and I had a final exam at 8:30 in the morning, and I'm getting back at home at like 5 in the morning, and you get an hour and a half to sleep, and then you're up and you're like, those are the nights where I was thinking, like, what am I doing? You know, you have that moments of self-doubt. You don't know if you're on the right path. You don't know if what you're doing is the right thing, but you know, you just keep pushing, you keep pushing, you keep grinding, and you know, you just hope that it you know, it works out.
Was there anything financially that you had to go without in the beginning couple years when you weren't making as much money? Did you have like a really horrible apartment or anything like that?
Well, I mean, I lived with my parents until just like the last couple of years. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. My mom, to this day, you know, she always loves when I'm around. So, but I also, I still am a pretty simple person. I didn't have many needs then. I don't think I have many needs now. So I don't think there was anything out of the realm that I would ever ask for. I just needed a way to get to games. I needed a laptop. I needed a phone.
With the highest data plan.
With the highest, yeah, exactly. Like unlimited for sure. So there wasn't really much else that I needed. It's not like I was asking for watches and cars and anything out of the realm. You know, very, very bare minimum. I just want to work.
And I have to ask, because I am an Asian girly with a non-conventional career path, what did your parents, I believe they were physicians, right? Like, how did they feel about you not skipping finals, but certainly not studying the night before finals and driving wherever, who knows where, to go watch basketball and report on basketball.
Yeah, I don't think my mom was the biggest fan of my school acumen. Okay. And I think for her, I think there was a lot of, and my mom is someone I'm very close with. She's a nurse. So to me, a lot of like those grinding characteristics and the passion of working came from her, because she's someone now, like our lives really resemble each other's. Like, she doesn't sleep much. She works a lot. Even now, like, I want her to go part-time. She's still working full-time. Like, she really loves what she does. And I saw that from afar, and I think that shaped what I do. I just didn't follow her path. I'm sure she definitely wanted me to be somewhere in the medical field. Yeah. I just didn't have the passion for it. Yeah. And so definitely for me, growing up, it was like, being a doctor, being a lawyer.
Engineer is another option we're allowed to have.
We are allowed to have that option. Like accountant at bare minimum. Engineering, you could be a doctor, physician. I don't know what else you got.
Like finance. I did have a finance job at first before I quit and started creating content. So my parents were like, tick, that's nice. But then when I pivoted, they were like, this is horrible. I can't believe you're doing this.
I mean, that's how it is for us Asian background people. Yeah. But I think as I kept going, as I kept grinding, I think it transformed from like, I'm gonna try to push you into this, to listen, if you want this option, like, I'm still here. It's like, I'll never forget, it was like freshman year, sophomore year of college. So I'm like maybe 4 years into writing, but not writing at a high level, to her, not at a high level, no full-time job.
This wasn't like a novel or a textbook. You were a sports writer, and your mom didn't get it.
She didn't really understand it, but also it didn't translate into like what, parents would want for their kids, especially minority parents. And
they couldn't brag to the aunties about you.
Yeah, the aunties. And I wasn't in med school. I wasn't on the path to med school. And, the biggest thing that she would always say is like, it's never too late to change your major. And, I'm a communications major at that point. It wasn't until I got a full-time job where my mom, which was sophomore year of college, when I got a full-time job, is when she got off my back. And that was probably the most proudest moment of my life. Because at that point, my mom finally was like, pursue your dreams. I'm not gonna say anything. And she was always supportive, but she went from being, I think, supportive to, now she's like the biggest cheerleader, and it's definitely awesome.
Well, so you said you got your first full-time job as a sophomore in college, and, in fairness, being a sports journalist or a reporter is very competitive. There are so many people who want what you have, and so many people who also do the same thing, but you have really stood out amongst the crowd. What do you think has really allowed you to do that? Is it personal branding? Do you think you just have a really interesting take? Like, what makes you special?
When I first started off doing this, I really went into this without any preconceived notions, no agendas. I was really green. And I think the naivety going in really helped me out. And when I was going into locker rooms for the first time at 19, 20 years old, I didn't know what the protocols were. I didn't know what was right, what was wrong. How do you handle this situation? How do you not? And I think the naivety, and in a lot of ways, I think that accelerated my process, because I was kind of like guns blazing. I was like, no conscience. I was just going for it. Like, I didn't care how many times. If I'm calling someone 15 times in a row, I'm calling them. And another story that I have shared this before, but so there's like a protocol. Like, you have to usually wait for a guy to shower in the locker room, and then you go and interview him. So Dwyane Wade, I had interviewed him over the summer, August 2012. That was my first like major interview. Did an interview with him, and then that next season, 2012, 2013, I see him in Milwaukee, and he's got his feet in a big bucket of ice. Basically half his leg, and no shirt on, just towel on, and he's by himself. I'm like, this is my perfect opportunity. I'm gonna go get this one-on-one.
This man's naked, and you're just hey.
I'm getting this one-on-one. Yeah. All I see is, because there's a bunch of media there, especially, and that was the time when LeBron James was there. That team was loaded. There was always hundreds of media everywhere, no matter which city they were in. And so I'm like, he's by himself. I'm getting this one-on-one. So I went, and thankfully, and now we actually laughed about it at All-Star Weekend in Indy. Like, it's always something we talk about now. It's like that moment where, like, I think he probably was like, what is going on here? And I'm just like, I'm doing me right now. Yeah. So, and I think, but that spoke to me about the naivety, and like, it wasn't until 3 weeks later where someone was like, we gotta wait till he showers. And I'm like, oh, you have to wait until
they shower.
Like there's protocols. And I didn't know. And I guess, thankfully that was a very harmless one.
Yeah.
It's all stuff like out of, I wanted to be productive. I wanted to go get it. And sometimes like Vivian, you're really young as well. Like, and you're doing this, you're doing your thing. Like it's like you sometimes want everything so fast.
Oh, always.
And,
I'm so impatient.
Yeah, and I always like, I have to catch myself sometimes that, like take a deep breath and understand that like this is like life is a long game, and there's ups and downs. There's gonna be challenges, and you don't need to. You want everything, but you don't need to have everything right now, and it takes time, and you have to live with the process and live with the results, and every day get better and better and better.
Shams just told us to be patient, but my takeaway from that story was ask for forgiveness, not for permission.
See, my takeaway was, Vivian, you look young. Brian, nah, you're
Brian,
good.
you're young too, baby. She's younger than both of us.
It's
so,
okay.
Brian, don't be offended that he's hitting me with a little Rizz.
Okay? Oh, okay, because you're the one rating. Gosh.
He's flirting with both of us.
That's true. That's a solid move then.
Before we hear more from Shams, let's take a quick break to hear more about the reason we're all here. SoFi, aka the official bank of the NBA.
There's threes, twos, even ones. But this season, it's all about zeros. Introducing the first ever zero giveaway, brought to you by SoFi, the official bank of the NBA. We're dropping $10,000 in SoFi members' bank accounts all season long, with a new winner every week. Add some zeros to your game and open a SoFi checking and savings account for a chance to win. You'll also get one of the best APYs in the league with no account fees to earn more money on your money. Get your money right with the next generation of banking and visit SoFi.com/zero to enter today. Join the official bank of the NBA. SoFi, get your money right.
Like thinking about it, like comparing early on versus now, it's easy to get complacent. Like you list off all the accomplishments and everything. Like, how do you avoid that complacency?
Complacency. Me and that word definitely don't get along. I mean, I don't think you can. To me, if you're doing what you love to do and what you're passionate about, the day you get complacent, or the day, I think the day you feel like you're irreplaceable, or the day you feel like I'm on top of this mountain, I got this, like I'm good, doesn't matter what happens from here, that's the day you're gonna be replaced. That's the day where it's gonna go the other way. And that's the day where, to me, I'm done, mentally. Like, everything in life, I've had to always be 100% committed in doing in anything, whether that's, sport I'm playing, whether that's a class I'm doing, which is why I probably didn't get the best grades, but, like you have to be 100% committed. Yeah. And with work I am, with family I am, and I think the time when you feel like you get complacent, or the moment you feel like, hey, I'm good here, like I'm no one can touch me, that's when it goes downhill. So every day I feel like I'm scratching and clawing. Every day I feel like I have so much to learn. Yeah. And also the other thing is, I feel now, especially in youth, like there's a sense of like knowing it all, or like maybe you feel like you have everything figured out. Like I go into every day thinking I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have everything figured out, and I want to learn more. And I think that inquisitiveness, I think that's important for young people to have, and not feel and act like you know everything, because we don't know everything. We're all trying to figure out what, and for me especially, my job is information. So every day I'm trying to, unearth something. I don't ever want to leave a stone unturned, and especially in the NBA, like.
I mean, it almost sounds like you hear interviews with like professional athletes. They're like, when do you know when to hang it up versus not hang it up? And the answer sounds similar, which is ironic, covering sports versus, the athletes.
I'll use my mom as an example again. Like, I feel like she's the perfect person to kind of show that she loves what she does, and she's going for it every day. I don't think she ever goes into a day with complacency. I think she's going every day as if that's her first day as a nurse. And for me, I know this isn't my first day doing what I'm doing, but I think every day I go into it and I want to learn more. And I think that thirst for me, it's the thirst of information. Like, I feel like I'm a servant for the fans. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's my job, is I'm serving them, and I'm because I was that fan. Yeah. I was that person growing up that was obsessed with where someone was signing, where they were getting traded, what's the behind scenes story on this team, this player, like, why is this happening? Like, I was asking all those questions when I was growing up. I was refreshing all the same rumor websites growing up. And now I'm in a position where I can help. First of all, I'm quenching my own thirst of that information. But the other thing is, like, you have a responsibility to your audience. And I definitely do feel like at different points I'm a servant for my audience and my fans.
I'd love to know, when you were deciding in your youth, essentially that you wanted to go into journalism and sports, it's not traditionally known to be a very high-paying industry. You are one of the top paid professionals in your space. And I know you say you don't like to say that, oh, you're at the top of the mountain, but did that ever occur to you, like, hey, I could make a lot more money being a doctor, lawyer, engineer? Was that something that was in the back of your mind?
That might have been, for your parents, I think that's probably in the back of their the minds is stability, and you see, whatever. Yeah.
Your friend has a cousin who's a heart surgeon, and
he's making this much, and like, I want my son to make that much. So I think that's something that for sure parents think about. But I never, when I was growing up, I never was thinking about money, and like I always was just about just working. And I think obviously that's a credit to my parents. Like, they put me in a position where I was able to go through schooling. I was able to always have really a good support system around me. I was never in a situation where I felt like I didn't have the resources that I needed. Like, if I needed to use my mom's car to go to a game in Milwaukee or Indianapolis, like, she would always make sure it's available. Like, if I ever needed to go to school late, like, she would always be there to, like, drop me off to school. Like, little things like that. I always felt like I was secure in that way. And then the other thing is, like, when I was first starting out, I mean, I wasn't getting paid initially. Like, I was paying,
you were working for exposure.
Yeah, I was in a position where, for me, I wasn't even thinking about the money aspect of it. I needed to find a voice. I needed to find out who I am. I needed to get a template of work, on a website or anywhere. And so when I started writing for my school newspaper, it went from writing for that to a Bulls blog called Chicago Now, which was a subsidiary of the Chicago Tribune. And that's where I was able to just write, and then send my stuff to a bunch of people and say, like, do you want a volunteer writer? Like, do you want anyone that can write? And Real GM at that point in 2011 said, hey, like, we're not going to pay you, but we'll take your stuff and we'll decide, decide when we want to publish your work. And I started getting work published on Real GM. And at that point, that was the pinnacle for me, like realgm.com. So realgm.com and hoopshype.com are probably the two biggest, like, rumor sites for NBA fans. And so for me, I felt like I made it then when I was getting my stuff on Real GM, because I was reading Real GM growing up. So I felt like I made it. I wasn't getting paid. And when I did start getting paid monthly, it wasn't that much at all. I was paying more going to go cover games than I was getting paid. Yeah. If that makes sense.
You were net negative.
Yeah. But to me, it was about the experience. It was about, like, getting my feet wet and making sure I was going through those experiences. And then once I got the full-time job, at that point I got my mom off my back, and now I'm in a position where, okay, I can actually like let's make a career out of this. And but I don't think I ever looked at the finances, and I still today try not to look at the finances. And me personally, like, I'm probably the least, I probably check my bank account the least amount of times. I keep my head down and I work, and I put people in positions that, like, that's their responsibility. Yeah. And my job is solely to work and to keep my head down and keep grinding.
Before we talk a little bit more about your ambitions, let's take a second to learn how SoFi can help anyone achieve their ambitions.
I've always been driven to get my money right. As a kid, I watched my mom struggle financially. Her sacrifice allowed me to pursue my dreams, to create generational wealth. I'm partnering with SoFi because they care about making your money work for your ambitions, just like my mom did for me. Recognize a generational player. Join the official bank of the NBA. SoFi. Get your money right.
So, like, clearly it was worth it overall. But is there anything, like, a normal kind of childhood and progression, anything that you regret maybe missing out on?
I think like on those long drives, you know, when I was coming back from Indiana or Milwaukee, and you know, I know I had an exam the next day, or I had, you know, my friends were hanging out. They were either, you know, going to a party, going to a social event at Loyola University, Chicago, where I went to college. Like, those were things that I definitely, on those drive backs, I'm like, am I doing the right thing? Like, what am I doing? Like, I should be a normal college kid. I should be a normal human being. Like, everyone at that age, I'll never forget, I would have people telling me, like, what, like, at NBA events, like, at one point, someone was like, what are you doing here? You should be getting drunk with your friends. And I'm like, this is, for me, all I'm thinking about. This is, so even if I was doing that, I would still be just thinking about being here. So I think those are but there are still times where now I think, like, what if I handled college differently? But then I have to, like, snap back, like, this is what I've been working for, and this is what I've always wanted, and what I've dreamt of trying to do, which is, like, serve my own inner fandom and serve the audience.
Couldn't even imagine the drives on like 65 North between Indy and where you connect to Chicago, like in the middle of the night. I'm like trying to stay awake even. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was definitely interesting experiences. You know, you're driving home from Indianapolis. I mean, at that point, you know, like, you're driving there, probably starting off at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon. By the time you're getting to the game, it's 5:30. Let's say the game's at like 7. And then the game ends. By the time you're done post game, so it's a 12-hour day pretty much, you know, in terms of, like, by the time you start driving there, and then the time you're like driving on the way back. So it definitely long days, long hours, but in the back of your mind, I probably did have this goal of, I want to be, you know, really good as a writer. I want to be someone that can cater to the fans in the ways that I loved, when you talk about transactions and behind the scenes story. Like, I wanted, the one thing I didn't know that I would be doing is doing more on air stuff, like being on camera more. Like, I didn't know, like, that was something that kind of came out of nowhere. But again, that's being adaptable, understanding that you're going to be uncomfortable, and you know, being ready for different experiences.
So obviously you chased your ambitions. It's turned out very well. I'm curious, do you think, like, today, if there was a young Shams, do you think he could still succeed in the same way that you did? Is it easier or harder now?
I personally think it's easier to potentially, like, for someone like me, let's say if I'm now rewinding in 2024, let's say I'm 15 years old and I'm trying to make a career in this field. I think now you look on TV, and I think, like, Nabil Kareem at TNT, Turner, there are people, I think, in the Asian community now, and the, you know, like, there's people that you can look at, and I guess me, myself, you know, people, you know, Indians, Pakistanis, anywhere else, like, people can potentially look at me and say, hey, I want to be like him. I definitely think, you know, there's a pathway, and I think there's an opening for sure, because now you see there's a level of potential. It's possible to be done. So I wouldn't say it's not easy. It's never easy.
Yeah,
so
it's not gonna be easy.
Maybe I gotta reframe that one. But I think there's better potential access points now than there were before. Also, social media is such a big point, and thankfully that's when I was coming up. I don't know if my stuff would have ever been seen 10 years prior to when I started, or 15 years prior to when I started, because thankfully, because of Twitter, Instagram, there was a lot of access points for you to get your stuff out there. And at the end, if you're good, if you're doing good work, if you're doing credible work, if you're showing yourself to be, I think, respectful to your sources, and someone that can be trusted, you know, not only to the people behind the scenes, but also to your audience, you'll be seen, and you'll be, you know, held to some level of respect.
Shams, thank you so much for joining us. It was amazing to have you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Not only, you know, keeping the basketball fans in the know, but also really talking through your journey and talking about the lessons you learned. And I think it'll be some great tips for our audience. So really appreciate you joining today.
Appreciate you guys having me on, and I really enjoyed our conversation.
Well, that's all we have for today's episode. Go hit the subscribe button so you're the first to know when our next episode drops.
And make sure to enter SoFi's Zero giveaway, where a lucky SoFi member will win $10,000 with a new winner each week for the rest of the NBA season. And make sure to follow me, YourRichBFF, and SoFi on TikTok for even more guidance on how to live a richer life.
See you next time. Hi, it's me, Brian Walsh, aka Dr. Money again, to talk about some of the legal stuff. Though I am a certified financial planner professional, your finances are unique. That means anything I talked about today shouldn't be considered advice. Think of it more as high-level education or guidance.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Basketball, though, even after watching Jordan in his prime.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, when you were deciding in your youth, put it on here for us, was it?